So my name is Richard Dewan, and I'll be taking your mock interview. So can you introduce yourself?
In Flutter, like total my overall career is 4 years, in which on first year I worked on Android native. Then I switched to Flutter in 2021, and currently I'm also working with a Flutter development. So it's more or less like 3 years on Flutter, 3 or 3.5, something like that. And currently I'm working with a client. So currently I'm handling two products in Flutter, and overall, I have worked on four applications in Flutter.
Oh, that's cool. So you have worked built around four application with the Flutter, right?
Yeah, yeah.
So what kind of the application have you built?
So basically, if you see the category, they are all related to the management applications. Yeah. So
Management application is what does it actually do? What is the use case of this application?
yeah, for instance, let's suppose my current application. I'm working on two products. So first of all is just like a media application. It's like an Instagram. So in which when user will open the app, you will get a list of public events on your app. So we are showing the public events in the Google Map as a custom marker. You will see the event and you can attend that event. So it's like the main motto is like client wants that people will get into the culture. Okay, so like on weekends they have to do party like that. And another application is like a Go Zero Waste application. So it's like we are showing some shops on Google Map using a custom marker, and it's like that user will go to the application and he will see the shops, registered shops on the application, and he will go to that shop and he will buy something, some product, and after that he will do the payment, and after that he will upload the picture of the product and bill to the application. So in the backend or admin, and they will verify, yeah, this is the product from this shop. If it's like a successful verification, they usually will get some coins or coupons or wallet money like that.
Cool.
Yeah, yeah.
That's cool application. So
Mhm.
like which is your you told me you build four application, right? So
Mhm.
out of these four, which one is the application that you really liked and you enjoyed working on that particular project?
See, Flutter is like my favorite framework, so I enjoyed every application. I didn't get like it's a boring task.
Cool.
Yeah.
Okay, that's good. So let us start with some of the basic question.
Mhm.
Mm, in the Flutter, let's say, um, can you explain me the widget? So what is a widget in the Flutter?
Yeah. So Widget is like so first of all, Widget is a class and which is used to show the UI on the screen.
Cool.
Yeah.
Okay, so and if you look into the let's say stateless or the stateful widget, right?
Mhm.
And you'll see that there is an option to create element. Do you know what is actually the element?
Yeah. So when you are creating stateful or a stateless, you will get create a state, right? And what is that you are asking?
No, I mean um like uh Like
Okay,
let's say you,
create
let's
tree
say,
is a part of widget tree. When you are building the widget, then you have a create element, then have rendered element tree.
yeah,
It's a
yeah,
part
yeah,
of tree.
yeah,
Yeah.
yeah.
So create element is like when you are making any widget, or when you are initializing any widgets. So first tree will called create element tree, and this shows that your widget is stateless or stateful. It gives you the information about that.
Okay,
Mm.
cool. um so like once you run the once you create the Flutter application, there is a, main method, right? Or so what does that, what is the use of this particular main method or the function that we have?
So main is the entry point of the Flutter application. So which is used to initialize the Flutter engine.
Cool. Okay, that's good. And you have the, uh, once you have the main method, and inside this particular main method, you will basically have the run app function, right?
Correct.
So
Yeah.
what does that particular run app do for you? What is the use of that particular run app?
Yeah. So after entering into Flutter engine, one app will allow to run the visit. I mean, run app will accept a class as a parameter, and which is used to run the whole application.
Cool. So do we can we run the run app multiple times?
I don't think so.
Okay, cool. That's fine. We can run multiple times in the main method. If you want, you can run the run app multiple times, but that it's not, I guess it's the best idea to do, but still you can run, right? So you have a
Okay.
first run app, you run some widget, display some widget, and after that maybe you can, after some delay or some after some delay, you can still pop up that and run the another run app and attach the main widget still there. Okay,
Mhm.
that's fine and that's cool. And another question would be the set state. If you are
Mhm.
using the stateful widget, we have an option for the set state. So what does how does that particular set state actually work?
So according to me, set state will render the UI, again, and it's like that. Mm, it will not call init state. I guess I'm not sure. I'm confused.
Okay, that's cool.
Mhm.
So the once you, like, let's say once you want to update the state or you want to change
Mhm.
some value,
Mhm.
then we call the set
Mhm.
state, right? And the set state
Mhm.
will basically the internally what it does, it will call the mark need to rebuild, and this function will actually go and check for the whether that particular widget is dirty, or if it's need to mark that particular widget is dirty, and if it mark that particular widget as a dirty, then it will rebuild and it will update that particular widget for you.
Okay, so it will rebuild from init state or only build method.
um, you call the set state from the build method, right? Like let's say when you click the button,
Mhm.
but
Mhm.
set state is you can call throughout the state class that you have built, right? That let's say class home, and that will extend the state, right? And within that
Mhm.
particular state class you can use the set state, and set
Mhm.
state means that it once you call the set state, it will trigger the mark need to build or rebuild. So it's just going to check for mark that particular widget as dirty, and once it is dirty, then in the next frame, so in the next frame, when the once the Flutter is ready for the next frame, so it will check that, and if it is marked as a dirty, it will rebuild that widget. So that's why you see the updated value in the or the that particular widget is rebuilt for you.
Okay, 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 yeah.
Okay, so cool. So next will be let us see about the. So what is the difference between the stateful and then the stateless widget?
Yeah, so these two states are like stateful widgets are like mutable states. So we can track the life cycle of the widget using a stateful, and the stateless has no life cycle. So it's a stateless is like immutable. We cannot track the life cycle of the widget.
Okay.
Yeah. And another difference is like we cannot rebuild the UI. I mean, we are talking about status stateness, so we cannot use status state in stateful, and whereas in stateful we can use status state.
Okay, that's cool. So what does the immutable actually mean? The stateless.
Immutable means once you assign something, you cannot change the value.
So what if we want to change the value? So what we have to do?
So immutable have no property to change the value. I don't think so. We can change the value of a immutable property. I'm not sure.
Yeah, that's cool. So if the widget are immutable, right? You cannot change the or you cannot update it. So if you want to update the value, you have to rebuild that particular widget or reinstantiate that particular widget, right?
Correct. Yeah, yeah.
Okay, so that's cool. And like let's say uh, in the let's say widget, right? In the widget, once you have the widget, you have the widget, you have the element, right? And then you have the render
Mm-hmm.
object.
Mm-hmm.
So what is the purpose of having this render object?
Yeah, so this is the, we can say, last life cycle when we are creating a visit. So in this, finally this class will call, and we will see the UI on our screen. And this this class stores the position, all the properties of the visit, and that we use on our screen. And rebuilding the widget using the render tree is like too costly. So yeah.
Okay, so that means that the render object is the one that has the functionality to paint like layout, right? So it's
Mhm.
going
Yeah, yeah.
to uh, pass those information to the graphic engine, whether you are using a SCA or whether you are
Mhm.
so it will
Implement.
pass it to the imperial, and it will pass that information to the graphic engine, and the graphic engine is the one that displays the UI in your screen, right? So whatever pixel, every pixel that you see
Mhm.
on the screen is comes from the graphic engine, and then
Mhm.
the render object is the one that pass those
Mhm.
information to the graphic engine, right?
Yeah.
Okay, that's cool. um, so we have so we have talked about the render object, and
Mhm.
let's say that you have a stateful widget, right? So you have a stateful widget, and you have one text and one button, and you have once you click on that button, it's going to call the set state, and
Mhm.
it's going to update the text value from, let's say, hello to the hello world, right? Or something.
Mhm.
It's going to update that particular value. So
Mhm.
in the render object, so every like this particular text box and this particular button will have a render object created, right?
Mhm.
So let's say you click that particular button, and from the let's say from hello to the text updated to the hello world. So what do you think, is that particular text will be recreated, and then the new render object will be created, or the same render object will be used, but it will
Mhm.
just update the value? So what do you think?
Uh, So according to me, it will use the same object, you can say. It will not create a fresh object, because the reason is that from my view, when you are creating a class, we have a create state element, so that will uh, create a object for one class. So when you are disposing the class, then that object will be disposed. So we are not we are only refreshing the string, we are not disposing the class, so I think the object will be same.
Okay, cool. That's cool. That's so it's going to update the text, but it's not going to recreate the render object, right? So
Correct,
that's
yeah.
the beauty of the Flutter. That's it is intelligent enough to know it's just a value change, or whether you have to replace the whole widget or just replace the value.
Yeah.
And that's cool. So render object just updates the particular text value, and it doesn't create the render object. And the next will be like once you have the like let's say uh, how does this particular the element tree and then the widget tree how they are going to track that particular like the widget, like let's say you pass in the text here, right, text widget. So how it is going to know that once you update that particular text value from hello to the hello world, so it creates that particular widget, right? It recreates that particular widget because you cannot update the you cannot update the value of the widget because the widget are immutable, so you have to reinstantiate that particular text widget. But in the if you say that in the widget, if you see in the element tree and then the in the render object tree, same object is same value is same instance is there, right? It doesn't recreate that one. So how do you think that is going to track that particular information, whether it's
So
the
I think we have a method in create element tree, create element method. There is a method. So whenever you are creating a widget, first of all, it will go to create element tree, and create element tree will call create element method. So that will track your widget, you can say.
okay, that's cool. So it's going to track the our widget.
Yeah.
So let's say you have once you click that particular button, the same text is updated. But let's say once you click that particular button and you remove that particular text, and maybe you replace it with the let's say a container, right? So
Yeah.
so what do you think will happen here?
Mm,
Like
yeah, sure.
you have the text, but once you click that particular button, you remove that text and you add in the let's say a container over there, right? You pop up the new widget. So it is that particular the container widget will be have its own will create that particular render object.
So I think when you are removing the text and entering the new container, and then create element, maybe it's create element and render element are like intelligent. They will remove from the memory. The object will be removed from the memory, and a new object will be inserted for the container.
Okay,
Maybe.
let's go. So yeah, so once you remove that, and then the new widget will be inserted into the widget tree, element tree, and then the render object tree, right? So once you have that new widget, so it's going to create a new render object for you as well for that particular container itself.
Okay, so the text object will be disposed or removed from the tree.
Yeah, so it will be removed from the tree already. So because the it's how it's going to track is it's going to check whether the type is same. So if you have a type same, like let's say you have a text, you just update the text, you just update the value of that text, so it will check, okay, this is the same type of object, I don't have to recreate that, and I don't have to re-render the that particular object, I just have to update the value, so it will just call the update method to update the value for you. But you remove that text and you put in the container, but in that particular position of the widget or the elementary, you have removed that particular widget and you have put in the new widget over there. So it's going to check for that one, like it is the previously in this position there was a text, but now it's a container, so that it knows that I have to recreate this particular widget. So it's going to create the using it will pass that to the render object tree, and render object tree will again have to recreate that particular render object, and will pass information to the graphic, and graphic engine will again display it to the UI, right?
Yeah.
Okay, so that's cool. And so let us talk a bit about the key. So let's say in the every widget you create have an option to pass in a key, right? So there is a key prompts in the widget. So what do you think, why is that key used there?
So basically, we will use key for specifying the uniqueness of the widget, so that it cannot merged with another widget or another object. So basically, it defines a unique widget, you can say.
Okay, that's cool. So it's defined the unique. So let's say you have the let's say just now we have the text one text and then the one button in our widget, right? So let's say you have the text and you have the value, and once you click that particular button, it's update the text, that one we just saw. But let's say once you click the button and you click the button, you also update the key value of that particular text. So in the text you have an option for the key, right? So let's say previously you didn't pass in the any key, let the Flutter manage it for yourself. But now once you manually add in the key, and that key is changed every time you click on that particular button. So how you think that the render object is going to work in this case? It will create the new widget for you, or it is going to reuse that particular widget and just update the value for you?
So it will dispose the previous widget and it will create a new widget in the object.
Yeah, that's correct. Because the widget key has changed, right? So it doesn't preserve that particular state, and then your render object and then your element tree doesn't recognize it. Will treat that one as a new widget, completely new widget, because the key has changed. Even the type is same, but the key has changed, so it's going to recreate that particular widget, right? So that's cool. So that's cool. And let's look into the let's say you have a form, and in the form we basically make use of the global key, right? But we say that the global key or storing value to the global key is a bad idea. But in the form we have to make use of the global key. We can't use the value key or the unique key. We can't use that one, right? So once you create the form, we have to make use of the global key. So why you think that we have to make use of global key here?
Sorry, I mean, I just heard about global key. I don't have any idea on that.
Oh, okay.
I just read, I just use. I didn't get in depth.
Okay, that's cool. So that's just because in the form you need to access the state, which is you want to validate the state of that particular form. So the global key have the feature to access the state, and rest of the key, if you see the value key or the unique key or the object key, they doesn't have the option to access the state. So in the form we make use of the global key. So that is the use here. Okay, and let's talk about the mm, let's talk about the garbage collection. Do you have any idea about the garbage collection?
Oh yeah, so garbage collector is just like when you have unused resources, and so what it will do that that VM machine, we can say that VM machine will dispose all the unused resources. So we have not to initialize anything from our side. It will be done by our Dart engine automatically.
Okay. So you mentioned about the Dart VM, and so what is the use or what is the use case of this particular Dart VM in the Flutter?
It's a Dart machine which is like uh, works like a Flutter engine. You can say it's like a
Okay, understand. So it's the once you use a Dart programming language that comes with the Dart VM, right? So
yeah.
every time you run the Flutter, Flutter make use of the Dart. So Dart VMs is comes together with that. So in the Dart VM, we have the feature like the garbage collection, like as you just mentioned, and Dart VM also has the two. I think there is let's say two more, that is a compiler, right? So
Mhm.
Dart VM is also used as the provides the compilation of our the Dart code to the bytecode, and that bytecode can be run to the Flutter, like passes that to the iOS or the Android to run that. And we have the compiler, right? So that compiler is
Mhm.
the AOT compiler, and then the JIT compiler.
Yeah.
Yeah. So what is the why we use the JIT, when we use the JIT compiler, and when we use the AOT compiler in Flutter?
Yeah, so basically these are two compilers in the Dart engine, you can say, and JIT is JIT works before releasing the application. So what is the main functionality of JIT is to compile the code, and it will tell the AOT that you have to do these instructions in the future so that AOT will be ready. It makes like AOT be ready. You have to execute these events. And when we will release the app, so what AOT will do? AOT will remove unused resources or unused classes, all the things that we are using in our project. And yeah, that's like AOT works.
Okay, so that's cool. So the AOT and then the JIT compiler is there, right? So the what do you think, in the release version of the app, is the JIT used or the AOT used?
AOT.
Yeah. So why we use the JIT in the dev, or the once you are only in the dev environment? Do you know why we use the IT in the for the development, and why we use the AOT for the release version of the application?
Okay. So for AOT, the main reason is like AOT will, according to me, AOT will remove all the unused resources that we are using in our application. And JIT will be like when we have written the code in the Dart. So the work of JIT is to convert the machine code to there is one machine code and another one is like I'm just forgetting the name. So it will convert the code.
Okay, that's cool. So the JIT we use in the once we are in the dev or the development environment, the Flutter make use like Flutter run dev, like Flutter run dev. So you are running a dev version here. So in this, once you target the dev version, or once you build the application for the dev version, JIT is used, because JIT is fast for the development, because it provides some functionality for the developer to, like, uh, compile the code on the fly. So it doesn't have to compile the whole code. It just have to compile the code that you have changed. So let's say you already compiled one portion of the code, maybe you just update some code, so it doesn't have to recompile whole thing for you like the ahead of time. It's just going to compile the every code that you're going to change. And like Flutter provides you with the hot reload, right, hot restart
Yeah.
option. So this is the main functionality of the git. If the git is not there, you cannot do the hot reload, hot restart, because you have to recompile the whole thing from the aot. If it was using the aot, then you have to
Okay.
compile the whole code and push that particular build to the your device. But since we are using the git here, right, so git provides a just-in-time compiler. As we say, it's compiling code by piece, or like every code you change is going to compile. So that's why it can do the hot reload, hot restart for you without recompiling the whole process. So that is the main use case of the git once you are using the dev version. And in the release version is you use the aot, right, so because it had to compile the whole source code, and then it has to be pushed to whether it's the ios or whether it's ios or android or the mac os. So it has to pass that information to the native code itself, right, so native build. And so it is pre-compiled for you, so that's why it can run faster when it start up, right, you perform any of the information, and git is not needed there. And another would be like once we talk about the dart vm. Dart vm provides this particular compiler, right, git, and then the aot compiler is provided by the dart vm. So once you release that particular application, or once you build that particular app as a release version, so what do you think, dart vm is still uh, published with that particular apk file, or the IPA file that you build? That VM does still exist there, or what thing it is not included in that final build or the release version of the app?
So I don't think so. It will be there in the release of APK or IPA file.
Yeah, that's correct. So
So
since we
is
are
there any reason?
yeah, because we use dart vm only for mainly purpose for the to run the dart code, right. Dart vm provides the compiler to compile the dart code to the binary code, and binary code is executed in the each device. But like let's say you build the release version is using the aot compiler. AOT compiler is taking your whole Dart source code, compiling it to the native code already, right? It is you either you build the AAB file or APK file or the IPA file. It's already native to that particular architecture, whether you are building for the x64 or whether you are building for the other architecture, right. So it's already pre-compiled for you. There is no need of running the dart code in the release version, right. It's already the native code that the android or the ios understand. It doesn't have the dart code in the apk or the ipa file of the release version, so that's why the dart vm is not required there. So that is the case. And let's say we talk about some of the garbage collection. And in the Flutter, the garbage collection help us to maintain the memory, right.
Yeah.
So what do you think about the memory leak? What is the memory leak?
Yeah, so memory occurs when you open any streams or open any resources in your application, and after the use, you are not disposing or closing the streams or pipes, you can say. So it will cause a memory leak. Memory leak is just like it will use your resources every time, so memory consumption will be like more. So
Yeah,
yeah,
that's
it
good.
will just like overflow.
Yeah, that's cool. So the garbage collection help us to the manage the memory, right? And memory leak
Yeah.
is so you forgot to close the stream, or you forgot to close the your the controller, like text editing controller, so that can cause the memory leak, right? So that's why
Mhm.
we have that. So what is
So it
the
means that,
yeah.
yeah. So it means that when we are using, for instance, block and we are opening the stream and there is no need to close that stream. It means, according to me, I think.
You it's better to if the framework is closing it for you, that's perfectly fine. But if that is not closing for you, then you have to close it. Once you open the stream, it is the if the package that you are using, if that is doing for you internally, so
Mhm.
that's perfectly fine for you. But as a developer, you need to be careful with that one, whether that is closing that particular connection, or whether that is closing disposing that particular like the stream for you, right? So it's
Mhm.
the
Yeah.
responsibility of the as a developer. You still have a responsibility to check
Uh-huh.
whether that is done for you or not. So if it is not
Okay.
done, then you have to do it by yourself. and
Yeah.
uh,
Okay.
and then the memory leak we just talked about is the memory leak. And how you think you can prevent the memory leaks?
So first of all, we will close the streams whenever we will open that stream. We will use dispose method wisely in every class or everywhere whenever we required, and yeah, that's it. I mean,
Okay, that's cool.
is there any more if you can tell?
Yeah, I think that's perfectly fine. We once you um, open, or once you create any object, that need to be disposed properly, whether like let's say we work with the Riverpod, or maybe you work with the provider, or you work with the let's say Flutter blog. So let's say you create a one provider, and that provider is only required, let's say, in the product screen. So you have a product list, and you create one provider to list all of the products. Then once you come out of that particular screen, that provider is not required, right? So that
Yeah.
provider should be disposed once you are out of the screen. It should not be kept there unless you want to do some catching. Maybe you want to catch it for later, so once the user revisit that screen, you don't want to reload that particular product. That may be a catching strategy that you want to implement. But in the most cases, once you visit that particular screen and that screen dispose method is called, so everything should be disposed over there, whether it's a provider, or whether you are using any instance of the class, whether you are creating anything, that should be disposed on that particular once you dispose that particular screen, unless you want to catch it for the later use case, right? So once you are catching, also you need to be extra careful, like how long you are going to keep that particular catch, and how like like whether you are keeping it for the lifetime of that particular application, or you just need it for the certain amount of time, and you want to you want to dispose that particular object. So this thing you need to keep in mind, and we need to implement it properly.
Okay.
As you mentioned, that streams, and then the controller, scroll controller, these all things need to be disposed properly, right? You don't want to keep it opening. Like the timer, you need to cancel the timer, right? And any callback function that you are using, it should, if it is accessing some object, right? If it is creating some kind of the accessing or another object inside that particular function, you still have to be make sure that that is disposed properly, right? And I think that should be the things that you should be working. Rest of the thing is the Flutter is intelligent enough to do for you, right? But as a developer, a few things that we just need to keep in mind.
Okay.
And after the let's we talk about the memory leak. And do you have any idea like how the garbage collector actually works in the Dart VM? Like it has some feature like the once you create the object, the new object will be loaded to the new generation of the memory, right? And there is also an old generation, so it basically maintains the new generation and old generation of the memory in the Dart VM. So do you have any idea about this?
No.
No. Okay, that's fine.
Yeah.
Okay, so let's move into a um, object-oriented programming. So how much do you use object-oriented programming in your day-to-day life?
In my day-to-day life, so first of all, it's like encapsulation. Encapsulation is just like you are writing the classes, all the objects, all the methods in class, all the variables. So in our real life, it's like we are already bind to the necessary things. So it's like encapsulation. So abstraction is just like you are not showing the internal details to the user, you can say. And if we will see in our life, abstraction is just like our feeling. We cannot show our feelings to anyone. And about classes, everything is a class. In our day-to-day life, like everything is a class. I mean,
What about the inheritance?
yeah, inheritance is also just like it's a property to inherit the data from one from super class to child class, you can say. So in our day-to-day life, it's like we are getting the property from our parents. So it's just like inheritance.
Okay, that's cool.
Yeah.
And what about the polymorphism?
Mm, polymorphism. I'm not getting the real example now. So polymorphism is just like we are using the resources in a multiple way, in multiple forms.
Yeah, one object can
Yeah,
take a multiple forms of the different forms, right?
yeah,
um
yeah.
main if you like main you if I think if you are using like if you in the Flutter, the main if you want to see the example would be like once you extend that, once you are extending it, and then you are using the inheritance already, right? You are extending let's say stateful or the stateless, that once you are extending, you are already using the inheritance principle or the inheritance of the
Okay, yeah.
OOP, right? And
We are
then
getting all the property like the life cycle from the
yeah,
stateful class.
yeah. And then once you have the, let's say you override the build method, and then you override the let's say init method. So the overriding of that particular the function or the method, you can see I think that is as a polymorphism, because the build method now can take a multiple form, right? Because in the home, maybe you return a home widget, maybe in the another class can override that and returns a different like the we get from there, right? So it is completely, maybe in the parent it implementation is different, and then in the child you have a different implementation because you override the functionality. So you can think that as a polymorphism, because it can take a multiple form, right? In the parent it has a different implementation, child it has a different
Mhm.
implementation. And abstraction can be of if you have any, if you are extending any class that is an abstract class, basically you are using the abstraction over there. If you create any abstract class, and if you have just have the abstract function over there, so you are already using the abstraction. And if you are using the private function, private, and then the public, right? So these are the what you call uh,
Access modifier.
yeah, access modifier. So in the access modifier you are already using the encapsulation, right?
Yeah,
So encapsulation is the private public functionality of that. So you can hide the internal implementation, all of those
yeah.
information using these, right? Okay. What about the let's talk about the solid principle. Have you worked, or have you ever worked with the solid principle?
Uh, Basically, if you see in our day-to-day life, I mean in our projects, we will use solid principle, solid is for like a singleton class. So we will use singleton class whenever we are initializing a class that will be created only for one time. Just like when we are going to make a database class, so it must be initialized only one time. So this is like a singleton S, and it's like open and closed. You have to code in such a way that when you are opening any class or method, in that will must be closed. I guess
Hmm.
that is for O, and L is like list scops principle, and I for inversion, and D for dependency inversion. So basically we use S and O. I'm not sure about LID in our Flutter projects.
Okay, that's
Yeah.
understandable. The S is a single responsibility. You just mentioned it's a singleton. Singleton is a different concept. It's a some design pattern. Singleton is a design pattern actually.
Okay.
So
Okay.
singleton is a design pattern, and
Mm,
S in the solid principle is a single responsibility. Single
mhm,
responsibility means that every class or every object that you create, or whether it's a function or a class, it should have one responsibility,
mhm,
right? So it doesn't do
mhm,
more than what is it expected to do. So let's say you have the invoice class, so it should only perform the invoice related stuff in that particular class. It doesn't have the it should not have the functionality to print that particular invoice. Maybe print is a different functionality, right? It's not related to the
mhm,
invoice. So print can
mhm.
be, you can print a invoice, you can print a PO. Printing can be a different stuff, right? So it should be a
Okay.
separate responsibility. So this is a single responsibility. Okay, I think that's the thing. I think going to be time already. What about the clean architecture, or how have you used the clean architecture?
Yeah, so clean architecture is related to like we are making the layers separately. Like, for example, we are using the block state management and we are using the clean architecture. So it means we will make a separate business layer, a separate models layer, then separate presentation layer, separate network layer, and the last one is like utils class. I mean, in clean architecture, we have the separate layers
So
of
you
all the
separate it by the we
yeah
separate it by the layer, right? So
yeah yeah
what do you think is the main use case, or why you think why we use it now? Why we use as a separate it to the different layer, or why we use a clean architecture? What do you think of?
yeah yeah. So first of all, it helps to other developers to understand the code when you are leaving the project in future, so other developers can easily understand. It makes you the code clean. It will not take too much time to understand the flow. And second thing is like it will be loose coupling. It makes a loose coupling. So loose
Okay,
coupling is good.
that's cool.
Yeah.
So so what about the testing? How much of the test do you usually write?
So generally, I use only unit testing now only. So
Mm.
testing small methods only now.
So in the Flutter, there is a three kind of the test, right? So what
Yeah.
are these kind of tests?
First one is unit testing, second one is integration testing, and second one is widget testing, and third one is integration testing. So unit testing is just like you are testing a small unit like a method, and you are giving some arguments, and you are what the argument you are expecting. That is the unit testing. In widget testing, we are testing the widget, we have a visit in, suppose we have a login screen, we have like three test field, so we are testing all the three visit. And integration testing, we are testing the api urls, the response files.
So in the test, what package do you usually use for testing?
I guess Mockito.
Oh,
Yeah.
so you're using the Mockito.
Yeah.
So what is the case? Well, what is the use case of this Mockito?
Mm,
Why you use this Mockito? Why we
so
use a Mockito?
Mockito is used to provide the mock data to your test class, so
Okay.
that you can easily test the methods.
Okay, that's cool.
Yeah. Yeah, basically, I used testing last year because after that we get a lot of requirements, so that I didn't get too much time on unit test cases. So
Okay.
yeah.
Yeah, I understand. That's in the service. If you are working in the service company,
Mm-hmm.
you don't have enough time to
Correct.
do, right. You have a limited
Correct.
time. You need to complete the task faster, right? Depend on
Yeah,
the
yeah, yeah, yeah.
only if the client wants to pay more, then you can do more, right?
Yeah, yeah, yeah. Correct. So
That's
that
just
is the thing.
that is the thing in service
Mhm.
service company. But if you are in the
Yeah.
product company, you have enough time, you have enough resource to do all those, right? So everything they want to test it properly. Okay,
Yeah.
that's understandable. So I
So
think.
this is the thing that why I scheduled the mock interview with you, because I'm trying a product based company in India, and it's like a 2 or 3 round, and in last round I like got not selected every time. So I'm just like worried. What is the I'm doing the mistake. I'm not getting. So just like 2 days ago, there is a company in Bangalore. I will do all the, technical interviews. So technical interview was good, and then after they provided me the technical task to do. So I have done, and they have written like you have to do it GetX with the binding pattern. So I never use GetX because in my current company for 2 years we are using on a blog. So I just did all the GetX documentation on all these things, and I submit to the that company. Now they are saying that code is okay, but they are not. The architecture is not good the way in which I follow. I mean,
Oh.
so yeah. So
uh,
that's why I'm yeah.
so it may be because the architecture, the pattern is depend on the team, right? So it's
Correct.
maybe a
Yeah.
company specific, or it is a team specific. Maybe you are using a MVI, or maybe you are using the MVVM architecture, you are using clean architecture, right? So whether you are using a provider, whether you're using a block, some company using riverpod, right? So they are different. It's not standard, so every company or every team has its own standard and own principle that they want to follow.
Correct. Yeah.
So it's not, I don't think that it should be the it should be the, if you can't follow the proper like GetX, and you haven't done it before, but you did it the project, and it's the first time you write, it's obviously not good, right? Because you haven't done it before.
Yeah.
So that is
Yeah. Correct.
the things that you need to understand, is because you haven't done it before and you did it the first time, right?
Yeah.
So it
Yeah.
should it will be not like it will be not like what you are expecting or what they are expecting. Maybe they are expecting as a senior, maybe you applied for a senior, and maybe for the senior maybe they think that is not good, right? But the thing they need to know is that you haven't done that before. You are doing that as a first time. Maybe if they ask you for the blog, you do that project in the blog and create the architecture in the blog, then you can do better than that, right? Because you have
Yeah,
worked
correct.
in
Yeah.
that one.
Mhm. So that is in India. I just see most of the companies are using GetX.
um
But okay.
GetX, I don't I use it few time, but I really don't like GetX. And mm, after that GetX, I use the blog and blog, and now we have shift to the Riverpod after blog. We did, I think, one big project in the blog. That was a crypto app we built in the blog. It was really good. It was really good to work with the stream, but we faced a lot of the issue. So it was not actually issue, but the thing was like the project was really rushed. It's like a whole crypto app, and it was so big application, and like every time you have to wrap the things up, right? Wrapping the block provider, every time you have to wrap every. So it was like so big that you have to wrap, and you don't know where the provider is. Actually, you can't find it properly. So that
Yeah,
was
I can understand. In blog, we have to write a lot of code
yeah.
so that like
So, and
we
that
forward.
was
Yeah.
the really we thought that if you have really large project, it is making your too much of verbose, too much of code there, and
Yeah.
difficult to like maintain that particular.
Correct. Yeah. Yeah.
So that's why we later tried the Riverpod, and after that we switched to the Riverpod. um, it's working fine for now, and it depends on the team. So you should not like um, stick with one, right? You should try, and
Mhm.
if that is not good for you, or if your team thinks that is not working for what is as you are expected, you should always find some better solution, or which one is more suitable. Maybe blog is suitable for you, and maybe your team may be suitable for that, but some okay, it's not suitable for us, right? So that
Mhm.
depends on the team, right? So each team has its own requirement, and we need to
Mhm.
understand that one, right?
See, the thing is like in my current company, I'm the only one as a Flutter developer. So it's like that no one is reviewing my code. Basically, last year we have a senior developer. He has experience of 8 or 9 years. So he always review my code. But
mm,
now there is no one. So what can I do? So like see, when the previous interviewer told me that okay, you are not like good in GetX, and he have rejected my the technical task. Okay, then after that I have read all the documents of GetX, and also I write the Medium article, all the things. I got all the things. But the thing is like who will tell me, yeah, this is the correct way? Who one will like review my code?
um let's say if in that case, like you need to find someone who knows that particular like package or the architecture that you're using, right? So you need to
Mhm.
find someone as a mentor, or maybe you need to find someone as a coach that can help you with that one, right? And
Mhm.
if you have some like the understanding of what is a clean code, how you should separate it in the layer, right?
Mhm.
So like you use a layer architecture and clean architecture, and you separate it in the different layer. It's you
Mhm.
should not be fixed like, okay, this is the only good way to do it, right? Maybe
Mhm.
you try it a bit, or try a bigger twisted one, and you see
Mhm.
whether it is better, or like whether it has a more less coupling, or whether it is like the more decoupled than what you think, right?
Mhm.
It is whether
Mhm.
it's more testable. So whether you are using the blog, or whether you are using Riverpod, whether you're using GetX, the only thing that it should matter is that how decoupled your code is, right? whether
Mhm.
it is tightly coupled, whether you can easily test it, and how easy is that to maintain that particular code, right? How easy is
Mhm.
for the people, or your team member to understand it, how much you have the documentation, how much you have the commenting for that particular the class or the method that you're writing, right? So that is the basic thing that you should be doing. So whether you are writing in the blog, or the riverpod or gatex, it should not matter, right? So if you have that, like, I should be separating this particular layer, this is my repository, this is my business or the use cases, this is my state class, this is my controller, or this is my view model. So view model should not have this functionality. It should only be responsible for updating and manipulating the state. And your business class is just for your business logic. Your repository should be only for managing and manipulating the data, connecting to the API, connecting to the database. It doesn't have the business case there, right? So if you are already separating that, and if you are decoupling it to the each layer, which should be easy to test, it's easy to maintain, right? So that is the thing that you have to actually implement, right? Whether you are using getx or the block, it doesn't matter. Only thing is how you have, how much of the clean and maintainable code that you can write. So actually you should
So,
see on that one. But if you want to find some, if you want to review your code, you need to find someone, like whether they are the as a mentor or as a coach, right? And most of the time you don't find a free coach or a free mentor that they want to do, right? Because everybody is busy in their work, everybody has their life, everybody has the work to do.
correct.
So you can't find easily. Sometimes you may find it, but it's really rare to find. But if you have like open source, if you do it as open source, and ask, like in the group, or the Twitter or the Slack or any, like the Flutter group,
Mhm.
right? So you can ask for somebody to, like, hey, I'm building this particular project, if somebody can contribute, or if somebody can help me or guide me here, right? So it's actually, you can build this kind of the, like, the project, and the collect the people and team member to work on it together. So this way you
Mhm.
can, like, uh, they will be reviewing your code, and they will be saying, so you can, each other can work together as a team, and this way you can also improve it. But
Mhm.
this is the one way, I think, if which is, I think, much more better comparing to finding a mentor or the coach. It's really difficult to find.
Yeah, correct. So may I know, can I know about exact mobile academy? What is it?
In the mobile academy currently, I publish some course. There are some free course, some paid course, some basic course, some advanced course, like. And recently I also have the boot camp.
Nice thing. So that is the thing. Like these are my questions
Okay, cool.
that
I
I
think
got. Yeah.
I got it. So I think that's all for today. Thank you for joining. If you have any questions or anything, you can ping me on Slack. Or
Okay. Fine.
okay,
Okay. Yeah. Thanks for all the things.
okay. Thank you. Bye
Okay.
bye.
Bye.
Bye bye.